Alrighty everyone, welcome back. It is now December 21st of 2023, and given that Aquaman 2, The Lost Kingdom debuts in theaters tomorrow by Warner Brothers, starring actors Patrick Wilson and Jason Momoa, and unfortunately, yes, Amber Heard, who has an official moderate role in this film, via director James Wan, who confirmed that just a couple of days ago. But there's a lot of things going on with Warner Brothers CEO David Zaslav, and the damage control hitting rock bottom when it comes to Aquaman 2, and it reeks of desperation. Let's get into all of this. This is Mike Zero. Subscribe if you're new and like this video to see future updates. You can also follow me at Mike01. I thank you also very much for the great and kind support. So we have seen this box office flop era, right? 2023 was a big one, not just for Disney, but also for Warner Brothers, having many box office flops, and Shazam 2 was one of the big ones out there. We know that Aquaman 2 is going to definitely be right up there with that list, and Blue Beetle, etc., etc. There's not a lot of good things going forward for Warner Brothers right now, with the end of the DC Universe as we know it. Now, when it comes to David Zaslav, I know a lot of people have differing opinions on the guy. Some people compare him to Bob Iger. Other people say that he's not quite as bad as Bob Iger. Choose if you will. I would love to hear your comments on that below. But what's interesting about David's overall perception of the ongoing backlash and the ongoing criticism with this movie, I think it just begins to show us that he really is right up there with Bob Iger. Let's discuss. Now, with Aquaman 2 already a box office disaster and projected to do worse than the Marvels by Disney, one major development has to do with Warner Brothers CEO David Zaslav and his response to all the projections and criticism surrounding the film by delivering the following. It's my responsibility to acknowledge any kind of concern over some statistics that have been made aware to our shareholders over our latest release in theaters, and we ask for everyone to provide enough breathing room for our latest feature, The Lost Kingdom, to let the numbers speak for themselves when everything is done and finished and it has run its course. I hold no concern over this great addition to our DC universe by Mr. Wan, and he has done a phenomenal job on sealing the deal before we transition to a new vision of superhero epics by Mr. Gunn. What I don't stand for are individuals within the general public that are altering mindsets of others on how well a motion picture is going to perform at the box office. I think it's unprofessional and lazy for those out there to compare our latest releases to a film that Bob Iger recently put out. There is absolutely no way of telling on how well or severe a film will perform at the box office and its financial situation before it has run its course in the theaters. We still expect and hope that this film will be our greatest performing DC feature in recent years, and remain very confident it will provide better results than our previous work throughout 2023 in the DC universe that is now soon coming to a close. Though the concerns over Miss Heard and her role in this film, we do actually acknowledge we have never participated in any form of false advertising with how significant of a role her character was set to have. Though I can't confirm or deny right now of the production issues and those claims about our cast members on set, it is very irresponsible for not just the general public, but for journalists out there and the trades alike that continue to use this installment, of course, as a pointing the finger before it has evolved its track in theaters. It's also unprofessional for those who promote many misconceptions about the production difficulties that we had going on with this film. From what we have already gathered based on early screenings is that critics are thoroughly enjoying this film, and there is no reason to promote damaging effects to a piece of art that has yet to make its way at the end of the release before it debuts on streaming. Now guys, before I get to the big conclusion about what David Zaslav is making very much, clear to the audience, to the shareholders, to those that may be concerned about how the DC Universe is going to come to an end, and we all know this movie's not going to perform well. I mean, this movie was always doomed to fail. This is why you have a lot of Warner Brothers executives going into desperate damage control that just reeks of desperation terribly. And it really just goes to show you that David Zaslav, really trying to kind of shy away from this film getting compared to the Marvels as if it's getting projected worse than the Marvels. He wants to actually kind of water those projections down and really wants to make it seem like that this movie is going to perform a whole lot better than what's being reported right now by the major Hollywood trades, by a lot of journalists, a lot of critics out there, and more of those on social media. So, Jason Momoa, look, very charismatic actor, I must add, and it is unfortunate that he's attached to a role like this, to a film like this that is doomed to fail financially speaking. And yes, we know that this is going to be the end of the DC universe before James Gunn literally, completely just reboots the entire thing and just does something brand new, basically, is what it's going for right now. They want to basically Marvelize the DC universe to kind of give it a different tone, if you will, to experiment at first. But interestingly enough, this is where things get quite interesting when it comes to David Zaslav and his overall stance on the ongoing criticism and backlash against Aquaman 2. He goes on to conclude, this is an ongoing issue that many studios have been dealing with lately in a new age and generation of common moviegoers that we feel is necessary to tame. Those who continue to promote this misunderstanding of our production with this installment, we ask those to refrain from putting out those claims to let our product speak for itself. Now, I don't know about you guys, but have you noticed, these top CEOs like Bob Iger and David Zaslav and others out there? They speak universally the same. I mean, even Tim Cook over at Apple, very similar, way of speaking, very, direct and robotic, expected, very much predictable way of speaking. That's usually how these CEOs talk when it comes to damage control, when it comes to any attempt to, quote-unquote, tame this backlash. And the fact that he's addressing this, quote-unquote, new era of common moviegoers really kind of just unleashing and watching things fail out of entertainment and how they don't want that to happen. Look, if you don't want that to happen, put out great material and you won't have those issues. This is exactly what Disney's going through. This is exactly what Warner Brothers, I feel, is going to begin to go through. I don't think Aquaman 2 is going to help with a lot of casual audiences out there that are prepping for James Gunn and his new DC universe. There's a lot of people confused about that still to this day that think it's going to be a continuation of what has already been established. So that's something that Warner Brothers has to really make clear to the casuals and to newcomers that may not be up to date with what's been going on with the DC universe. And in my opinion, guys, the DC universe has been very scrambled and unorganized right from the beginning. I mean, it never really had a consistent, successful flow. It's always been this up and down roller coaster. It never had a really good starting point like the MCU did, in my point of view at least. So overall, I would really love to hear what you all have to say about David Zaslav and his overall stance on the criticism and the backlash and how people are really examining the projections at the box office for this. And if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel, and I will catch you guys later.